Welcome to Coping with Coronavirus, a message of diligence and reassurance. Session 2. Session 1 was last week. I'm telling you, this is Dr. Marilyn Roderick. I forgot to say that. This is Dr. Marilyn Roderick. Welcome. I am a former hospital epidemiologist and one of the first infection control practitioners in the country. And I taught people from one side of the country to the other in various meetings how to set up their infection control programs. And I went to Bavaria in Germany 2 times to teach the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force how to set up their infection control programs, and lots of health departments and lots of state health departments and lots of hospitals. So those are my credentials. And one of the things I want you all to learn how to do is to check the credentials of the individual who is talking to you and see if they know what they're talking about. Pretty much it needs to be someone from the National Institutes of Health like Dr. Fauci. He seems to be the one that everybody knows, F-A-U-C-I, and he was there in the 1970s when I was doing this. This was the whole decade of the 70s when I was doing this, and he was there at the NIH. Or someone from the CDC, Centers for Disease Control. We haven't heard that much from them, but they know what they're talking about. And I have to say the reason there has been so much delay in recommending masks, and all the media have reported this is going to be what they're going to say. There's been a delay because there's an issue about recommending masks, which we'll talk about more when we get to masks. But right now, I welcome you all to session 2 of this meeting. And what we're trying to do, I have to tell you this too. 30,000 people have viewed the video, at least some part of it, from last week. 30,000 people are now in our army that we are forming of warriors. We are, everybody's a warrior and everybody's equal in this army. And the qualifications to join are 2 things. One is you have to be a seeker of the truth. That's why I was talking about CDC, NIH, me, Dr. Fauci. Someone who knows what they're talking about. You cannot listen to anyone who doesn't know what they're talking about. I just heard a doctor being interviewed, and they interrupted the program to tell her that the FDA had recommending using quinolone, hydroxyquinolone, to treat this virus. And she said, "Oh, I'm so happy. That just makes me feel so good." And I said to my husband, "I'm devastated." And I'll tell you the reason I was devastated when we get to that part of the talk. I'm just saying you need to know who you're listening to. I hate this technology. I hate all this. I hate the fact that some people aren't in the meeting, some people can't hear it. It's just.
What's the meeting password?
The meeting password is 589502. That's the meeting password. I set this up so no passwords, nothing would have to be required except the meeting ID. The meeting ID is 256-802-750. 256-802-750. That's the meeting ID. My personal meeting ID, it's the only other thing I can give you, is 898-335-6169. I wish I were standing in front of a live audience, but then it couldn't be as many people as you. I wish I were standing there like I usually do and showing my slides, but I'm not. So you're going to have to listen to my voice and maybe see me and maybe not. But I was telling you about the qualifications to be a warrior in our army. One is to be a seeker of the truth. The second one is to be non-judgmental. We in this army are treating everyone. Every warrior is equal, rich and poor. People who live everywhere. All kinds of people. And everybody's the same as long as they are a seeker of the truth and they don't pass judgment on each other. So they don't laugh when someone does something that they think is silly. So those are the qualifications. The goal is to empower you with knowledge, because knowledge makes you empowered. I'm going to give you the knowledge. I'm going to have you help trade fear for facts. Fear for facts. I'm going to have you fight and win this battle that we're in because we're warriors who seek the truth, and I'm going to give you more armor. I'm going to help you learn how to make a better world for our children. Speaking of our children, last week when I saw everybody's picture I saw a picture of my niece's daughter, who's 5 years old. Her name is Serenity. Can you believe that? Wouldn't we love all to have the name Serenity at this time of fear? Her name is Serenity, and she walked into the room and put her head on her mother's lap, which is surprising because she's always moving, but she put her head down on her mother Erica's lap in North Carolina, in Raleigh. I see her mother Erica right now. She's smiling. I asked her if I could say Serenity's name, because if you know a person, another person's name is Olivia. Olivia is my other niece's daughter. She is 4 years old. Serenity has dark hair and dark eyes and translucent skin. Olivia has blonde hair and blue eyes. So does her mother. So she came in to the meeting that my niece Alexis was on, Alexi, and she stuck her tongue out. She stuck her tongue out at all of you. She went, and she stayed there for quite a while, holding her tongue out. So she's here too, and we're trying to help our children have a better world. And I was going to sing this song for you. My daughter's going to think I'm nuts. I'm just going to sing this song for you, but I don't have the courage, so I will say the words. And this is going to have Jesus in it. Jesus is also God, is also the Holy Spirit, is also Allah, is also anybody who is your higher power. Anybody that you look to for help, which you will do at the end of this. Anybody that you look to for help or you pray to is in this with you. So I'm going to say this song. Jesus loves the little children. We all learned the song when we were little, all these Christians. Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. Red and yellow, black and white. They are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. So I would sing it like 3 times, but we don't have time for that. But you understand the whole idea that these children are counting on us. Now I'm going to give you your epidemiology lesson. Okay? We're going to do that everywhere. We're going to review epidemiology. Because if you become epidemiologists, granted you don't know everything, but you certainly will know the basics of epidemiology. If you know the basics of epidemiology, you will not be afraid of this virus. I will tell you right now the other thing we're trying to do. There are hormones in your body which make you feel different emotions. We are trying to substitute adrenaline, which is the fight or flight hormone, the one that is in you when you're about to give a talk and you've never done it before and there are 30,000 people. I'm not afraid. You're not afraid because we are trading adrenaline for serotonin. A lot of people have asked me, what does this coaching mean and all of this, and I've had trouble finding my niche, my thing that I specialize in. And now I know it. It's trading adrenaline for serotonin. Why couldn't I think of that before? You all helped me figure out what my niche is. Trading adrenaline for serotonin. Okay. So the coronavirus, we talked about this last week, so I'm going to go over this quickly. But some people will be new. I see my friends here that are new. A few friends, Robbie and Barbara. Barbara White-Klevitz, Robbie. Robbie is Walter Robinson. He's the person who was doing investigative reporting and found out about all these priests that were terrorizing children. And by writing and teaching other people, he helped so many people. He helped the church. The church now has a priest that is willing to say we made a mistake and hold people accountable. And Robbie helped other people do that. And Barbara was my friend. We both nurses together on a contagious disease floor at New England Medical Center in Boston. She became the head nurse. I went on to a Harvard research unit and did that. So I'm getting a message. Move on. Okay. So anyway, we have people that know a lot that are in our army, and we're all here to support each other with things that we know. And in medicine, we have a saying: "No one, teach one. No one, do one, teach one." That's what we all said in medical school. Isn't that crazy? I'm letting you in on all the inside scoop now. We would say no one, then do one, then you're ready to teach one. So I'm your teacher right now. And so we have to go back to epidemiology about this virus. This is something that I think you should know, which will help empower you. It's not that important, but I would like you to know it. This virus has a name. And if you're at the CDC, and I was on their concert, they don't call it COVID-2. They call it SARS-CoV. That's the end of it. SARS-CoV. SARS-CoV-2, the number 2. SARS-CoV-2. You might want to get a pencil and paper, because if you're like me, you want to write some things down. SARS-CoV-2. That's the name of this virus. It's a relative of the other SARS virus, SARS-1 virus becoming now, or the MERS virus. But it's a lot more powerful. It's a relative, but it has got different characteristics. So this SARS-CoV-2 is kills 10 times more people than the seasonal flu, than seasonal influenza caused by another virus, flu virus, which keeps mutating all the time, which is why we have to develop different vaccines for it every single year. So we don't have any for this right now. I'll talk about that later too. But anyway, it causes COVID-19 disease. SARS-CoV-2 causes COVID-19 disease. So now you've got that. You have the virus, and this is what it does. Okay. It came from bats, then it went to chimps or other animals, and then it went to humans. Everything seems to come from bats. I don't know how bats are so powerful in all these things that we do. When I worked on that infectious disease unit, contagious disease unit with Barbara, I developed the utmost respect for bacteria and viruses. In my whole 50 years doing this, I do it with the utmost respect for bacteria and viruses. Why? They're always one step ahead of us. They're always one step ahead. We're always trying to catch up. We're always in the defensive mode. So that's how it happened. It happened in China. Now, I was on a WHO meeting briefing reporters. I'm going to put it on my website because if you want to, it would be a great thing to go to. The WHO helps you think about the world. It was shocking seeing these messages that were coming through. Some messages were so smart. We need to be careful. We need to be calm. We need to help others. We need to think about what's happening in all these different countries that ask for help. Africa, they need help. They asked for help from the head of the IMS, International Monetary Fund. She was on there. She's talking about how they've made efforts to help Africa. But I'll put this link for them on my Facebook page. I don't know how I'll have to put it on my email so other people can help. I have a certain email that I can help. But anyway, listening to that, so many people were blaming China. Then I heard Dr. Fauci, F-A-U-C-I, Dr. Fauci. He is the head of the infectious disease section at the National Institutes of Health. And he's the one whose face you're seeing. It seems to be the only face that we can actually trust, Dr. Fauci. So Dr. Fauci addressed this question. I was so happy because I listened to all these things on the WHO. Then I saw Dr. Fauci being interviewed. Yay, I wrote everything down that he said. So now pretend I'm Dr. Fauci. He said that once the virus is causing community spread, that's another epidemiology term you should know, community spread. When it is spread from one person to another, it's not a person who met somebody in an area that had the virus. It's not someone who traveled to an area that had the virus. No. It is someone who doesn't know how they got the virus, but it's in your community because people are getting the virus that have no idea how they were exposed. That's community spread. Dr. Fauci said once the virus causes community spread, it could never have been contained within China's borders. So please, everybody, listen to that. Listen to that. It could not have been contained within China's borders, no matter what they did, no matter how early they tried. no matter. These people are smart in China. They have done so much to help us by doing studies and giving us information about what happened there. But the fact that this virus came from China is not, it could not have been prevented. So stop doing that. It's not good for your adrenaline to be doing that. It's good for your serotonin not to be doing that. But remember, this virus proved to be 10 times more lethal than the flu. So we know certain things about the virus, and we know enough to keep us protected. We know enough to keep us protected. We still don't know everything because it's in the middle of the epidemic. It has not even reached its peak in the United States. It's going to get worse before it gets better. We've all seen that curve going up and down, that curve on TV, and what we're trying to do is prevent it from having everybody sick at the same time at the top of the curve. And so we want to make a shorter curve, make it more spread out, and so that's going to help our healthcare system cope with the number of people who are getting sick. So the curve eventually comes down. It's got a downward side to it. So we're waiting for that to start happening, and we'll know. Someone will tell us, Dr. Fauci will tell us, when this is starting to happen. But right now, we're in the middle of it. Okay, the next thing is, what is the reservoir for this virus? It's a word like holding water, only this is holding virus. What is the reservoir? Human lungs. Human lungs and respiratory secretions. What are respiratory secretions? I bet you can guess. Nasal discharge. Phlegm is called sputum in medicine. Sputum, phlegm. And to a lesser degree, a much lesser degree, the gastrointestinal tract. That's why some people, when they get this, they have a stomach ache, they have diarrhea, they have all the things that are normally not present in the lungs. But the virus, in their case, has developed more in their gastrointestinal tract. The spread, this is really important. The spread is primarily by droplets, D-R-O-P-L-E-T-S. It happens when people who are infected with the virus cough, it goes into the air. It goes about 3 feet and then drops to the surface below it. It's not in the air for a long time. It can be in the air, they've done these studies too, for as long as 2 to 3 hours, but normally it's not. They cough, it goes down. Or sneeze, or now they know, every week there's something more that's learned about this virus. Now we know, it used to be able to just be coughed or sneezed, but now we know even talking can do it. So what do? We need to stay at a minimum 3 feet away. But now the Center for Disease Control is saying stay 6 feet away, just to make sure. There's a word called abundance of caution. Abundance of caution. So this means that you're not only doing the minimum, but you are doing something extra just to make sure. So everybody will have their own prevention technique, which includes the basic things. Stay 6 feet away, stay inside, don't touch your face, wash your hands a lot. Wash your hands with soap and water if you have it. If not, use an antiseptic. They're called antiseptics. When you put it on human skin, they're called antiseptics instead of disinfectants. You're going to learn everything now in this.
I'm sorry, Mom, can you just real quick tell me what that password is again? Because there are a lot of people that are trying to watch it and they can't.
Here. The password is, I'm going to just give you this. Sorry, everybody. People are trying to get in, and I never checked to use the password. I think the computer knew it needed to try to thwart me in the efforts to help people. I'm just so aggravated. Okay, so small amounts of this virus are passed airborne. That's something different. Somebody raised her hand, my Antoinette. So can we put the chat? I'm going to not answer questions till the end, but is the chat on?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can ask your question by typing a message in the chat. See, I don't see it on my screen, and I should be able to move it around, and I don't see it.
What, the chat?
Chat, yeah, they said I
This
can
is the
move it around.
chat. It's right here.
Okay,
That's it.
so ask your questions on chat. You can raise your hand too. I made it a hand that's in between black and white. There you go. You can raise a medium hand. And the other way for Facebook, you can message me. No, message me? No.
Yes.
Message me on Facebook. Message me on Facebook. That's the other way to ask your questions. I will make sure they get answered. I don't know exactly when. Okay. So when somebody is intubated, they have a tube in their mouth. It's a corrugated plastic-looking tube. It's not really plastic. And it goes to a machine, a respirator. That machine is breathing for the person. The person's lungs, the machine is making their lungs fill up with oxygenated air. So they don't have to do it. They're resting their lungs, and the respirator is helping them breathe. Not everybody on the respirator pulls through it, but most people who are on the respirator make it. So, extubation, when you pull that tube out of that patient's mouth, a lot of virus, and they're infected with COVID, a lot of virus is going to be in the air right then, right when you pull that tube out. Some will be in the air also when you put it in, but the worst thing is extubation, pulling it out. But you're not there. You're not working in the ICU anymore. For some people, hey, they have worked in the ICU anymore. You're not that I know of, but some of you probably are. If there are 30,000 people there, there are going to be those of you who work in the ICU and are there when doctors are extubating people. Anyway, those are the main ways of spreading the virus. So if you're inside your house, you're not going to be exposed to this virus. You're not. The next thing is fomites. This is a big thing. It's called fomites in epidemiology, F-O-M-I-T-E-S. I had my mother, my 95-year-old mother, who used to be an elementary teacher, then she became a professor of education, Juanita Roderick Latham. I spent 3 hours at her house. We stayed 6 feet away. I spent time at her house yesterday afternoon, and she wrote all these cards, because instead of doing a PowerPoint presentation, which would be boring for most people, she wrote everything out on these white cards, big cards, and I'm supposed to hold them up now. Well, I held the first one up, practicing at home. It was backwards. Backwards, mirror, like looking in a mirror. So I use those cards to prepare the talk, but I figured out how to do it, and the last one I'm going to hold up, you'll see, is something else she wrote. But if I'm holding up the card, I say fomite transmission. That is transmission to inanimate objects. Inanimate objects, I-N-A-N-I-M-A-T-E, inanimate objects. And the virus can go to inanimate objects, but it will not reproduce. It doesn't stay alive. It goes to inanimate objects and it dies. Because it can't be a living organism. It's a parasite. Unless it's in your lungs, a human being's lungs. We don't know about animals yet. But if it's in your lungs, it can reproduce itself. If it's on a fomite, it's going to die. How long is it going to die? You see all these studies. On cardboard, it goes away faster. On countertops, it takes longer. Well, I put down all these different things, but you can look at the studies about how long it lasts. But don't waste too much time, because that's not where the virus is going to infect people. Not you, because you're in your house. You're self-isolating. The virus is not going to be infecting you. But in people who are taken care of at home as well, people who are taking care of COVID patients at home, because by and large, you get a mild form of the illness. It's not as bad as influenza. Influenza inflames your meninges in your brain, and you feel like something bad has happened in your head. So if you've had, like I have had, a bad case of influenza, all you wanted to do was die. You just hoped it happened sooner rather than later. So this virus, for most people, is going to cause a mild disease and not last very long. So, and not be living on inanimate objects anywhere for very long. So I need to make you understand that about the fomites. That's a really tertiary, the last about how it's spread. It needs a host to live. It won't live on fomites longer than maximum 3 days. Okay. So let's talk about prevention and let's talk about masks. I already talked about masks a little. The mask, the pore size, P-O-R-E, like pores in your skin. The pore size of the mask determines its effectiveness, determines how readily it blocks these viruses. So do most of you need a virus that has a pore mask that's small enough to block people who are spitting out the virus when they're infected, when they're being extubated? No. When they're coughing or sneezing, well, it might be, because the bad thing about this virus is it infects so many people that have no idea that they have it. And the viral load, that's another epidemiology term, the viral load is the same in people with no symptoms in their saliva, is the same as for people who are sick, no matter how sick they are. The viral load can be the same in people that have no symptoms. That's why this virus is so strong. That's why it's spreading readily, so strong, so easily, because people with no symptoms, and they don't mean to, but they're infecting you. So the main reason of the mask is to protect healthcare workers in the ICU, in the hospital, and at home, people at home, healthcare, the people that take care of people that are sick at home. So that's the N95 mask. So, and the next thing is surgical masks. Those are the ones we wear in the operating room when we put on, and we learn right away that as soon as the mask is moist by what we're breathing out, we should change the mask, because once it's moist, it's easier to have, in that case, viruses and bacteria get through them. So we change the surgical mask certainly between every surgery and every time it gets moist. My cousin Suzanne Picard, Suzanne Rapp Picard, she's in Maryland right outside Washington, D.C. Her husband, Matt Picard, I know because he was behind me at Stanford Medical School. And his brother, Matthew Picard, who's at Mass General Hospital, was a couple years ahead of me. So the Picards, they all went to Harvard first, then they went to Stanford Medical School. So you're joined by people that are really smart, much smarter than I am. So Matt Picard is a neonatologist. That means a doctor who takes care of newborn babies. And he takes extra care and knows what to do for the newborn babies that weigh 2 pounds. 2 pounds! He has an N95 mask that he is supposed to use for a week. One mask for 1 week, taking care of these newborns, because they don't have enough. The problem with using the mask day after day is the virus may still be alive on the mask, and you have to put it on the next day. You have to be very careful how you put it on and take off these masks. They are trained how to put these masks on and off. But that's who needs the masks that people are hoarding. Send the mask, take the mask to your fire station and have them give it to people that really need an N95 mask. If you have the surgical masks, take that in too, because people that are exposed to this virus all the time need help. Then, this is really great. We have the homemade masks. Those homemade masks are wonderful, and they're the ones you should use if you are using an abundance of caution, or if you have an underlying illness, if you have cancer, if you have Parkinson's, if you have MS. When you go out, not every minute that you're outside. This is not China. You see everyone wearing masks all the time. This is the big problem why you have not heard this recommendation come from the Center for Disease Control of the NIH. They don't want you to be wearing masks all the time. They don't want our country to look like China, where people are all the time wearing masks because they're afraid. Those people are wearing masks because they are afraid of getting the virus. You are wearing masks because you are afraid of giving the virus to someone else when you're at the grocery store. If you are infected and you don't know it, you don't want to give this virus to someone else. That's why you put on your mask when you're going into situations that you might see people that you can't control being 6 feet away. You can't control being 3 feet away. Someone walks past you. You have the mask on, not to protect yourself, but to protect the other person. So it's just a different way of thinking of it. And there are all these patterns for homemade masks. And my Aunt Jeanette, the mother of Suzanne, she's an artist, and she sewed, and she knows how to make, so does Susie, know how to make masks. She made 12 masks of 2 different styles and modeled them. And I was going to show a picture of her in California, in Los Gatos, my Aunt Jeanette rep, wearing one of these masks that she made. But you're just going to have to use your mind's eye. That's one of the things in your armor. I haven't talked about that yet, the different kinds of armor that you will have. But one of the things in your armor is called the mind's eye, M-I-N-D''S, the mind's eye. Everybody has it. It's an eye that's in your mind that sees things, that sees the effect of emotions on people's faces, that can read things in other people. It's not just facts. So I'm going to tell you to use your mind's eye to picture my Aunt Jeanette, who is 91, but she looks like she's no later than 65, wearing this mask, modeling it for you. Thank you, Aunt Jeanette. She's in this meeting with you. She's 95 years old. My mother's in this meeting. My mother, Juanita Roderick Latham, the elementary teacher who can think of everything to help your children be entertained while they're driving you crazy at home. She's also a professor of education, a professor of gifted education. Oh, I have to hurry up. Anyway, she's in here too, and she's 95 years old. I just want you to get to know the people who are with you in this battle. Okay, so that's enough about masks. And I'm going to put a pattern for making your own mask on my website. But you can Google online now, making your own mask, and it comes up right away. But I'm going to put it on my website. We talked about abundance of caution. This is the other thing that depends on where you live. So I have cousins, Frank and Kathy Hodgkinson is their name. They're living in just outside New York City. Frank takes the train, used to take the train every day into New York to a bank where he works. He's also a lawyer, and he's also really smart, an MBA and a lawyer. So he's working from home, and he's learning how to do signatures that are very powerful, these signatures from his home, not as his office. But they have 3 children. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of one of them, a little bit, so that you understand there are people living in New York City right now who are exposed to this virus or could be exposed to the virus. One child is named Brian. All these children are in their 20s or early 30s. Brian lives in Queens. He works for a bank. Peter lives in Manhattan. He works for a law firm, although he's not a lawyer, but he works for a law firm. Kristen, their only daughter, the youngest one, she lives in Brooklyn, and she's working for a startup company in digital marketing. There are 3 children. Those children are doing the same thing we're doing, only they're in a very high-risk area. They call it a hotspot. So they have their doors closed. They are sheltering in place, sheltering inside. They're staying inside their house. They're going out to walk their dogs. They all have dogs. The dogs need a walk. That's their quote, fresh air and walking their dogs. So Dr. Fauci said, I'm Dr. Fauci now. He said, quote, guidelines will be out in a few days. They will say all should wear masks. And I'm adding, no, not all people need to wear the mask. And probably when it comes out, it will say these variations of what's needed. The people that are in New York City are the ones that need to wear the mask when they go out. You can wear a mask too if you are using an abundance of caution. Now we're up to something called prevention. Prevention. Here's what the CDC and everybody agrees on. Prevention. Don't touch your face. Wash your hands often for at least 12 seconds. In soap and running water if you have it. They don't talk about this, but using friction, using rubbing, that's what I know to be true. Rub your hands, use friction. So if you have soap and water, that's the best thing. If you don't have soap and water, then you will use an antiseptic. It's not a disinfectant because you use disinfectants on inanimate objects. but you will wash your hands with a disinfectant, and it will have at least 65% alcohol in the disinfectant that you're using on your hands. The FDA approved, I also should say, for cleaning in your house. This is something I'm quoting from the CDC now. FDA approved household cleaning agents are thought to be, in general, effective against this virus. I'm going to repeat that. This is from the CDC. FDA approved household cleaning agents are thought to be, in general, effective against this virus. And I've said now what you use as an antiseptic, 65% alcohol, but fresh water and soap, any kind of soap. It doesn't need to be antibacterial. It just needs to be soap and water and 12 seconds at least. If you're using an abundance of caution, use 30 seconds. If you are using really an abundance of caution, which we do when we're going to the operating room, it has to be 3 or 4 minutes of scrubbing with a brush, rubbing your hands underneath your fingernails. That's important. People don't talk about that very much. Cut your nails short and scrub underneath your fingernails.
We're starting to have some questions, Mom. I don't know if you want to take
And the
them.
other thing is UV light, ultraviolet light, sunlight. Put things in sunlight. If you're afraid, I shouldn't say afraid. If you are cautious, instead of afraid, I'm going to use the word cautious. Cautious means an abundance of caution. Afraid means you're afraid. No, you're not afraid. You're not doing your adrenaline thing. You are going to use an abundance of caution for your mail. You have the mail delivered. Maybe you use your child's wagon to go out to the mailbox, or the mailman puts it in your house. You take it outside using gloves. I didn't even say gloves. Using gloves, any kind of gloves. And in the hospital, you're using latex gloves. You take them off and put another one on all the time. They need those too. But if you're at home, you can use a rubber glove or something you buy in the store, the latex gloves. And you take your mail outside in your child's wagon, and you leave it out for a day under UV light, ultraviolet light. That virus, I can assure you, is going to be dead. Remember, it's not living unless it's in lungs. Okay, so we're up to the part that I call treatment, and I guess there are a lot of questions, so I'm going to see if I can answer questions, and all bets are off as far as how long this is going to take. And guess what? Guess what? You can leave anytime you want to. Wouldn't that have been great? We were in all these classes in school, undergraduate school, college, postgraduate school. Wouldn't it have been great if we could have gotten up and leave anytime we want to? You just leave. So if this is too long and you're bored, you can leave and you can watch it later, because I'm going to have it on Facebook and on somehow on Zoom. Okay, this is a question from my sister-in-law, Carol Nicely. She's a professor of art, and she's in Canada at the University of British Columbia, and she's really smart and she knows everything about art. If you can go to Europe with her, like I did one time, it's like having a textbook talking to you by your side. Anyway, her question is, if you stay at home with your spouse and hardly go out at all except once a week for groceries, do you have to disinfect counters, doorknobs, etc. every day? I'm going to be Dr. Fauci now. He said, you don't need to be obsessive about this. It depends on what's going on in Vancouver. Depends on what's going on at your grocery store, how far you're going. But they do say when you're disinfecting things, disinfect the items that are used the most. So I'm glad about this question, because I was going to say that and I forgot. So that would be doorknobs. In our case, and this is what they don't say, your phone. Disinfect your phone. That's what you're going to be using the most that could get infected. How could it get infected? It would have to be when you are outside and when you're around people and you're within 3 feet and you don't know whether they have the virus or not. That's how your phone would get infected. If it's at home all the time, then it would get infected by maybe you going out. So they do recommend wiping down your phone with some kind of disinfectant. You might not have any. Just wipe it down with soap and water, or just wipe it down with plain water, because I don't know if soap is going to ruin your phone. Doorknobs, that's another thing they do recommend. Doorknobs. And countertops is the other thing that they are saying. It depends on how much you're going out. You don't need to really disinfect your countertop every day, but you might, instead of washing down every bag that you come in with your groceries, you might want to just wipe off your counter if you put the bag on it after you use it. but you don't need to go around your entire kitchen and wipe all the countertops. Is this the answer to your question? Because I can see you on my screen. Say this. Put your hand up. Yes, she puts her hand up. Okay, next question. Oh, Barbara Wyclevitz, my nurse friend, and her husband, investigative journalist friend. Well, I don't see any other questions. Where are the questions from Facebook? Oh, Jill asked the question.
Marilyn, do you think the homemade masks with a seam down the center are useful? I see the seam as a wind tunnel for the virus to enter the mouth and nose of the wearer each time they take a breath. Thank you.
Can you hear Jillian asking the question? Check your head, yes. Go put your hand up, Carol. Can you hear Jillian asking that? Yay. Okay. Your hand is, you're not Erica Ullman, but which is under your picture, but your name, anyway. Oh, it's Barbara. Is that you? It's Barbara. Okay. She says she's done this for years. She can hear Jillian. The question is a very good one. Very good question. It shows that you're really thinking about this and you're trying to use facts instead of fear. So the homemade masks that have a seam down the middle. If you were in the operating room, you would not want a seam down the middle while you're breathing on your patient and their skin is open. You're opening their skin. If you're in your neighborhood, I think it's fine. Now I'm speaking as me, not Dr. Fauci. But I think it's fine to wear the mask with a seam down the middle. I don't think it's a wind tunnel for the virus because most of the time you are not going to be in a high virus in the air setting. You're not going to be in that setting. So you'll wear the mask the whole time you're out. It might get a little moist. That's okay because you're at the grocery store. You're not in the operating room. And you can wash your mask. You can wash your mask every time you use it. And isn't that great? Okay, so now another question.
How do you disinfect a home thermometer?
How do you disinfect a home thermometer? The pharmacies, and I understand they're all out of them, but they're using thermometers that have a plastic, it's a little plastic sleeve that goes on top of it. So they don't even wash their thermometers. I think they should be also washed too, but it's the sleeve. So a different person has a different sleeve whenever they use the thermometer. What about the home thermometer and you use it at home? I would disinfect it either with an alcohol swab, which we call, those little pieces of gauze that have alcohol on them. If you have anything like that, then it's an alcohol swab and disinfect it with that. But the main problem is going to be for people that are taking care of COVID patients. And guess what? In their home, if they can, they're going to have their own thermometer. That takes care of how you disinfect it. Otherwise, you use an alcohol swab or use soap and water. The next question is, oh, that was from my friend Judy, my classmate from medicals, Judy Armini, wonderful photographer, Mill Creek Park Pictures. Yes, so that's the next question. Jillian. Okay, we'll answer more questions later. Let's go on now. What about treatment? So something has changed about treatment this week. Last week when I entered the meeting, I said, next week we'll talk about, should we give hydrochloroquine to everyone? So the answer last week was, of course not, because the studies haven't been done to prove that it is safe and effective. When you are trying to use a drug for a new indication, even an old drug, if there is a new indication, the FDA makes you do studies to show, number one, that it's safe, that people are not going to get sicker, have side effects, get sicker from it. We take this Hippocratic oath in medicine. To become a doctor, you take this old Greek oath, and it says, the main thing it says is, first, do no harm. The first thing is to not make somebody worse or give them another problem. So the FDA makes you do studies on people. I was a principal investigator doing studies in what they call early phase units. Early phase meaning the first time you give a medication to a human being. It's already been tested in animals. People don't like to use animals for testing, but they help us because they need to be tested in animals in order to show that they're safe for humans. So I worked in an early phase unit, and you cannot imagine all the different ways that we provided for safety, and that we watched people and monitoring people for safety. So is it safe? Does it make you worse? Does it make side effects? And the second thing is it efficacious? That's the other word. They're going to become epidemiologists and doctors at the same time by watching this site. Is it efficacious? EFFICACIOUS. Is it safe? Is it efficacious? Is it efficacious? Those two things we need to know before we use it on humans. Well, now this week the answer is different. Now the FDA has approved using hydrochloroquine. It was being used by a lot of people without being FDA approved. It was being hoarded by a lot of people. Hoarding. That's not a medical word. That's a word we have to think about now. It was being hoarded by doctors before it was FDA approved. Well, now, guess what? It's approved for use for people who have COVID disease. And I'm assuming have symptoms, and I'm assuming are sick, and I'm assuming are at home, not in the hospital. Because who in the hospital would just give it? Well, anyway, I was watching. You have to be careful now of the FDA. I was watching this doctor who was being interviewed on TV when this message came in. Guess what? The FDA approved hydrochloroquine for use in COVID patients. She says, I'm so happy. I'm so relieved. I say, I'm devastated. Now we'll never get the answers. This was the problem with SARS. We didn't do the study soon enough to be able to tell, do people get better from the effects of the antibiotic? We know people get better. We know people get better fairly quickly, a week, maybe 4 or 5 days, maximum a week, very, very, very maximum, unusual, positive for COVID, 25 days, but normally they get better with mild symptoms. So the people that were taking COVID, their doctor prescribed it to them. It's a prescription medication, or they're in the hospital and their doctor or their practitioner, nurse practitioner, or their other PAs have prescribed it for them. So here's the thing. What I would like you to do is make your own decision. If you get sick, well, if anybody gets sick, if you're talking about COVID, I want you to look up hydrochloroquine. That is the generic name for everything that's called this. And the brand name is Plaquenil. I'm going to spell Plaquenil. Plaquenil. Look up Plaquenil on drugs.com. That's what happened to me when I was trying to find the side effects of COVID. I know in my mind what I think of, side effects of hydrochloroquine. I know what I think of. But I went to the physician's desk reference, the PDR. We all know the PDR. That's where we look everything up. Now it's online. We look everything on that, the PDR. The PDR, I couldn't find hydrochloroquine. So I look it up online, and it comes up on drugs.com, Plaquenil. Guess what it says? It's an immunosuppressant drug. Plaquenil. Plaquenil, hydrochloroquine, immunosuppressant. What do we use this drug for? It kills parasites. Its main use is for malaria. When you are killing parasites, that is not an easy thing to do. You just can't use one of the normal, regular antibiotics. A parasite is hard to So you have to use a strong medication. When you use a strong, I'm using just basic words, a strong medication, when you use that, it has lots of side effects. The other use for this is it's suppressing inflammation used to suppress inflammation. It's used in drugs that cause inflammation like rheumatoid arthritis, which is a severe form of arthritis that you get in your joints, in your hands, in your feet, in your arms, and you end up crippled. That's rheumatoid arthritis. It's not the arthritis that everybody gets when they get older. It's lupus erythematosus. This is another inflammatory disease. That's what chloroquine is used for. When I went to write down the side effects so I could tell you, there were so many side effects that it took up pages to look at the side effects. Pages. Think of common side effects and they are in there. It showed common side effects are the ones that up to 10% of people who take this drug will get. If you have to take it longer, like if you have lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, of course there are going to be more side effects with the length of the treatment course. If the treatment course for this is going to be short, you're still going to have the exposure to this medicine, and you will potentially have side effects. So we need those controlled studies. We need more powerful studies. Some of you, many of you have heard of the p-value. P as in Paul. That's my other friend watching this, infectious disease doctor who became a psychiatrist, Dartmouth, Stanford. P as in Paul, and so I'm going to tell you about the p-value. The p-value is going to look something like this. It's going to be 0.01 if 1 out of 100 people don't have the effect that you're looking for when you're testing this drug. It's not effective in 1 out of 100 people. The next one is P001. That is 1 out of 1,000 people, if you give this drug to them, are not going to have the effect that you're looking for. That starts to get statistically significant, P001. Then P0001, 10 to the fourth power. 1 in 10,000 people will not have the effect that you're looking for when you give this drug. So that's what you're going to look at when the safety and effectiveness studies come out. When SARS was used and they tried all these different things, the conclusion was that none of them worked. None of them worked. Even giving plasma of patients who have recovered from this drug, they're looking at that now. You can be sure that everybody, remember last week I told you all these people from all these universities, think of the universities in your town, think of the universities in your state, think of the NIH, National Institutes of Health, think of the Centers for Disease Control. Everybody's running studies. Think in Israel, think in Germany, think in England, think in China. In China, all these people are running, they call it running studies, to try and figure out how to get something that is effective for treatment of sick people. They're also running studies for vaccines. What about vaccines? Someone was showing on my LinkedIn, someone was showing a picture of a researcher in San Diego holding a syringe with a yellow liquid in it and something underneath it like a microscope slide. And everyone said, oh, guess what? Now we have a vaccine. It's coming from San Diego. Vaccines take 1 to 1.5 years, 12 to 18 months, in order to be effective enough to be given to you, to be safe to be given to you. So we will be waiting 12 to 18, we will not be getting a vaccine during this pandemic. We will have to wait 12 to 18 months. But that vaccine is going to be helpful because we don't know when this virus is going to come back. My brilliant niece, Laura Allman in New Hampshire, wants to know about the epidemic curve. So I invited somebody who would know all about the epidemic curve, Don Craven. He's a professor, epidemiology and microbiology and people. So I invited him to talk about the epidemic curve, and he hasn't answered me yet. So I'm happy because everybody doesn't need to know about the epidemic curve, but Laura would like to know. Okay. So this vaccine will help us. We'll see what happens with this virus. We're waiting to see if it's coming back in China. That's the first place that it was. That's the first place it's going to come back. I keep hearing these little incidental reports as they relax their restrictions. That's the other thing Dr. Fauci said yesterday. When it's time, when that epidemic curve is coming down far enough to relax what we're doing, to relax our sheltering at home, self-isolation, and other things that we're doing so we don't get near this virus. We're fighting against it. We're the warriors. It's going to come time, and it's going to be several months. It's probably not even going to be 6 months. But we know we're not at the peak of the epidemic yet because there are so many new cases being reported every day. That's how we know. There are a lot of new cases. The first thing that's going to show up when you can relax the curve, the first thing that's going to show up when the curve is going down is fewer new cases. The old cases are going to be there. The death rates are going to be there. So that's not it. You're going to look at fewer reports of new cases. So when we relax those restrictions, this is Dr. Fauci now, We have to do it carefully. We have to do it a little at a time. We have to really be careful how we relax those restrictions. It's like going to Afghanistan and fighting and then leaving. We didn't leave anybody there to help people in the interim, making the change between having a lot of help and not having help because they learned to do it themselves. So, but we didn't, we left. Then we have to go back to Afghanistan so many years later, and we're still there. So we need to be really careful when it comes to this, because those lives are going to be killed by bullets and bombs, but our lives are going to be killed by this virus, and we don't want the virus to have access to human lungs, which is where it lives, when we start to relax our restrictions.
Someone wants to know if you could at some point discuss the shedding times of the virus. A small study from China shows the median frame or time of shedding is 20 days from the onset of symptoms, even up to 37 days. Why are people in the U.S. being told to go back to work in 14 days?
Did you hear that? The question is, how long are people contagious? The answer is, for varying amounts of time. There's a small study coming from China. China is studying everything, showing that some people can test positive for the SARS-CoV-2 virus up to 25 days, 28 days. Okay, that's a small study, and it's showing some people. You ask yourself, what is the p-value? Is it statistically significant? I guarantee you, if it had a p-value, it would not be a small study. Just by saying a small study, I know it's not statistically significant. So you'll know that that's there, but you will not react to it. It will not make your adrenaline go up. It will not make you think everybody you're seeing is contagious. So normally it goes away on average in I don't want to talk about small studies. On average, 5 days. Abundance of caution, small amount of abundance, 8 days. Maximum amount of abundance of caution I've seen, 25 days. So its curve from shedding is anywhere from 3 days to 25 days. So we're going to be we're using an abundance of caution, but on average, it's 5 days. Anything else? Okay, so now we know that each person is going to use a degree of precaution depending on, you check in the morning. Here's what you should do. Well, I'll talk about that in the morning. But you need to check on how many people in your community. In my community, there are very few people. There were 24 people with COVID in my county for days, almost the whole week. Then it went to 23. Then it went to 24. But the virus is shedding exponentially when it's in the hot spots. Exponentially means it doubles its number every 2 to 3 days, 2.5 days. When it spreads exponentially, it doubles its number every 2 to 3 days. So when it's spreading exponentially, you'll wear the mask to the grocery store, or you'll keep inside longer and only go to the grocery store, get enough food for a month. So you'll use a degree of precaution, abundance of precaution, depending on where you live. Isolate at home. If you're not sick, you can go to the grocery store. I had other questions last week. Is it okay to go to the park? Well, it depends on the park. Lots of people have beautiful parks in their community. Lots of them are not used very much. But now everybody's going to the park. So some parks have so many people going to them that they are closed. If your local park is not closed, it's probably okay for you to go to it. And if when you see people, it's a few people and they're 6 feet away, then it's okay for you to go to the park. And when you go to the park, make sure you're trying to get as much serotonin going in your body as you can get by the relaxation, by nature. Spring is here. That's a big plus for us fighting this virus. Spring is here. It doesn't take much to look around and see beautiful tulips, beautiful flowering trees. So go see them. If you can't go out, look at them on your computer. Find beautiful pictures or magazines, beautiful pictures. That will help your serotonin. Okay. Can we go to the beach? Luckily, I wouldn't live anywhere unless the beach was nearby. Anyway, Can you go to the beach? So at first, I was looking on the news for our county. So we have Ocean Isle Beach. We have Sunset Beach, beautiful beaches. And at first, they were open to everybody. But then people that don't live here started coming to those beaches. Then a lot of people, not just local residents, were coming to those beaches. So now both of those beaches are closed. So you have to check in your community and see if your beach or your lake or whatever, and see if it's open or closed. And you don't go to it if it's too closed. Is China is studying this virus. Is it because they made it? No, they did not make it. China did not make this virus. I'm going to go back to that because it's very important. China did not make this virus. It was made in bats, B-A-T-S. Think of those things flying around that you hope are not going to land on your head, especially at night. Bats. I don't know why bats, but it came from, the virus was first found in bats. Then it went to chimps or other animals. It can be, there's a whole list of camels and cat and chimps and all this list where it can go next after the bats. Those are zoonoses. Remember I said last week, Z-O-O-N-O-S-E-S, zoonoses. These are diseases that can go from animals to humans. So in China, first it was in bats. Why it was bats there, I don't know, but it wasn't, anyway, it wasn't the fault of the people who live there that it formed in bats. Then it went to chimps, then it went to people. So it wasn't formed in China. China is studying this virus because they were the first ones to have it, and they immediately went into action. Even though the government was suppressing information, I can tell you for sure, I know this, that Chinese doctors were working on the effects of this virus, answering how long it shed, trying to develop treatments, trying to develop vaccines, and sharing their information. As I said last week, there's something called an emerging viruses network, and viruses emerging. And millions of doctors and millions of scientists are on that network now. And by having Ebola and other things, SARS, the scientists are sharing their information. Sequencing this virus first happened in China. They had it first. They had the time to sequence the virus. Sequence means figuring out exactly what the makeup of the virus is. You need to know its makeup in order to develop treatments. You need to sequence the virus and know its makeup and learn more about it before you can develop a vaccine. So it was sequenced in China. It wasn't made in China. Okay. Now let me. I'm almost towards the end, but I just want to say that we should be thanking the people who are putting themselves in danger's way. When we go to the grocery store, the people who are stocking the shelves are not responsible for us hoarding toilet paper. Why are we hoarding toilet paper? Because we're afraid we're not going to get it and we're going to be desperately ill and no one will have toilet paper again in the world. We know when we read that the stores are being stocked, as they are all the time, with these items. So hoarding toilet paper is not the answer. Now the grocery stores have had to say you can only have one package. Dollar General is only saying one package because everybody took all of it. When my husband was there getting the package at Dollar General, this family came in and they knew it was supposed to be three packages. They took 3 packages for all 10 of them, cleaned out the entire shelf. He watched it happen. He came home. You're not going to believe this happened. We have to be good neighbors. We have to think about each other. That's our armament. When you see the news media, their job is to report the news, and the most interesting news is about people that have terrible effects from this COVID. It's not their fault. That's what we're asking them to do. But remember that those are of the 100, pretend 80% of people. No, the average is 20% will need to go to the hospital. 20% out of 100%. So out of 100 people that you know, 20 might have to go to the hospital. I'm just giving average numbers. I'm not giving the exact decimal point number. Nobody really knows the exact decimal point. Of that number, 5% might need to go to the ICU because they're breathing in the floor. They can breathe supplemental oxygen. Everybody can get oxygen in those little tubes that go in your nose, or it could be a face mask. Used to be a tent anymore. Now they know they're too flammable, but they're getting oxygen on the floor, and they're getting other help that they might need, but they're not in a life-threatening situation. Maybe 5% will have to go to the intensive care unit. Of that 5%, maybe 2% will need a ventilator. 2 out of 100. Maybe in some hospitals it's 3%, but it's going to be a very small number need ventilators. But you're going to see them on the news. Remember, the virus is always one step ahead of us, and we are fighting and struggling to stay ahead, and so far we're staying ahead. Have you seen on the news anybody who's gasping for breath and does not have a ventilator? I haven't. Raise your hand if anybody's seen someone on the news who has been gasping for breath and they can't find a ventilator. I don't see any hands. So, I keep seeing things about people needing to be admitted. I keep admitting anybody. Okay. So we have to carry on. So you don't see people on a ventilator, but you do see people dying. Now I need to, if I can find it on my phone, I would like to share something of someone who's in South Carolina, and this will help you see it. She's in South Carolina, and she posted a message of what it's like for a family member to watch someone dying of this virus. And I want to read her exact words because when I read them, I could picture everything happening, and I want you to be able to picture it. See if I can find it.
You're now taking away your Facebook Live that was streaming.
Oh, I can't do it, and I put it on your phone then.
Okay, but let's.
So you put it back. Jillian's putting back the Facebook Live. I'm putting on. Can we go to my page on here?
Your what page?
My Facebook page. Just a moment. I'm sorry. You can go to the bathroom. You can take a drink. You can eat something interesting, or you can look at a picture, or you can read. Water. Carol's drinking water in Canada. Barbara's looking at papers. You're the only ones I can see right now. Okay, so now my Facebook page, and I need to
Somebody
go.
else down there on the bottom. Look, she has a
Oh, Erica's drinking something.
that, Erica?
This is something you can do. And Barbara's drinking. When you drink something from a cup, I did this morning. You can do this every day. Everybody can do this. Do you have a favorite cup? Did somebody give it to you? Did you buy it somewhere that was a great place to travel? Everybody will have a favorite cup. Sometimes it says mom or dad. Erica says grandma. It should say grandma, her favorite. Juanita Roderick Latham. So use your favorite cup to drink your tea or your coffee, and you'll be able to think about who gave it to you and why it's your favorite cup. I've got to get to this person because it's really important. Maybe it's my Facebook. Oh. I'm going to have Jillian look for it while we're doing this. Look for someone. Get my. Okay, but I'm going to read this by the end. It might be there's my Aunt Jeanette. My Aunt Jeanette, 91 years old in Dale Gracie. It's not a picture. I have to keep going. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. I have to say a couple things. These are warnings. These are in the United States. These agencies are supposed to be protecting us. I just have to put this in here. I don't want to make this political. It's not anything about whether you like Trump or whether you don't. President Trump was in my graduating class in college, the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school, hard to get into. You have to be smart. They gave me all the money to go there and become a nurse. He was in my class, which means he is not stupid. He is smart. He is a smart businessman. We elected him, the very poorest people and the very richest people. How about that? It's hard to get the poorest people and the richest people. They elected him. They elected a businessman to be our president. So it's not his fault if he doesn't know science the way Dr. Fauci does. It's not his fault if he thinks about these business people who put him in office. That's what he's there for, and that's what they put him there for. So he makes mistakes. We scientists have to be careful, and we other people, we have to be careful. My husband says I have to stop. I'm going to stop. His children went to Penn too. It's hard to get into Penn now. Okay, so here's the thing. The Environmental Protection Agency has stopped protecting us in the United States. The EPA has stopped all of its rules. It stopped its testing. It stopped giving fines. It has stopped protecting us. Something happened in my community, and it's from the Cape Fear River. Some of you, all of you may remember, if you want to watch a scary movie, watch the movie Cape Fear with Robert Mitchum. It's the scariest movie. And I'm living now where the real Cape Fear, I didn't think it was a real river, but I'm living right next to the Cape Fear River. And a company called Chemours, Chemours, put all kinds of chemicals in our drinking water from the Cape Fear River. And it's taken 2 years to try and get money to have a reverse osmosis process to protect us from the Cape Fear River. The Environmental Protection Agency is no longer protecting you. It's no longer protecting you. What is it under the influence of? The oil and gas industry. I'm not making it political. I just want you to know the EPA is not protecting you. I better stop talking about that. Okay, but I also need to say the FDA would not normally do this. They're under the influence of, under the pressure of, and the CDC and the NIH, they are under the influence of, not necessarily doing what they would normally do. I just have to mention that. So we have to start thinking of others in a way that anyway, the end of that. You're the warrior and you are a seeker of the truth. That's the last thing I want to say about that. We are trading fear for facts. Knowledge is power. We are increasing our serotonin. We are decreasing our adrenaline. And I'm just going to give an example of waking up. I'll say this really quickly. When you wake up, the first thing you need to do is take care of yourself. Unless you have a baby crying, then you can't. But the first thing to do is take care of yourself, because you have to take care of yourself in order to help others. Then it's take care of your family members at home, your children, your husband, your daughter, take care of your family. Then it's going to be take care of your pets. If you have live pets at home, live things, they need your help. Take care of your pets. Then it's take care of your plants. I'm a big plant person. Living things, though. You take care of living things. Then you take care of your house. They say in this health coach program I've been studying in Health Coach International, they say, clear up your clutter. Like how you do one thing is how you do everything. How about that? Clear up the clutter. It's the first thing they tell you to do. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And then take care of your yard. I like to see flowers. My husband works in landscaping. If the grass isn't cut and the bushes aren't trimmed, or it's dying, or there's the irrigation isn't working, then you don't feel good when you look out and everything's brown. So, and thank them too, by the way. So, you check your facts. You use your mind's light. This is your armor. You check your facts. You use your mind's light. You check the person who you're listening to. You bear your gifts. Everybody is born with gifts, and we all know what they are. Somebody might not have told us that for a long time, or maybe have had to grow up to learn it, but we all have gifts when we're born. This time, I want to get you involved. I want to have you email me what your name is, what your gifts are, where you live, and I'd also like you to put the names of the children that you want to make a better world for, because next week we're going to talk about the help this virus has given us to make a better world. That's what we'll focus on next week, how this virus has helped us make a better world. And I'm going to hold up my only sign now. Here's where I want you to email me. I have a special email for this. Marilyn, I'm supposed to hold it up here. Can you see it? Barbara, can you see it?
No.
Marilyn Roderick at Outlook.com, not Gmail, Outlook. Marilyn Roderick at Outlook.com. I promise you that I will appreciate every email you send. I do not promise you that I will answer every email you send. I promise I will share some things about each other that will not be personal. I'm very HIPAA conscious, HIPAA, HIPAA. That means don't tell anybody anything about your patient. So email me at this address. I'll put it up one more time at the end. But tell me your name, where you live, the children, the names of the children you're protecting, you're making a better world for, and what are your gifts that you're going to use to help others in this epidemic. Tell me your gifts. Now, now the last part of this, and it's going to be more about our armor, and it's going to be spiritual. So I've talked a lot. I have many atheists in my family, in addition to all these religious people. I've talked to them this week, and I want to make sure that everything we're doing, all of us are equal, and I don't want to exclude anyone. I don't want to exclude anyone who doesn't believe in what Christians believe in. But I just need to make it easier by not saying all the names. I don't know all the names of who everyone believes in. And so I can't say all the names, and I can't take the time really to say the name of everyone. I can say the name Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit. I can say the name Allah. But when I talk about this, I want you to substitute the name of whoever you pray to, whomever you pray to. When I say God, when I say Jesus, when I say the Christian thing, you substitute your thing. And those of you who are atheists or agnostics and you don't want to try it, what you should try is the meditation part. But the meditation part includes all the other stuff. It includes relaxation. We're going to have 3 parts of the meditation. Take deep breaths, guided imagery to relax your body, meditate on the word love, relax your mind. None of this is spiritual. None of this is Christian. But at the end, we're going to say, ask for help. For those of you that pray to a higher power, you will ask the higher power to help you, guide you through this. So those of you who don't want to do that part, do the first parts of the meditation and then exit when I start to talk about God. So that'll be your way of, amazingly, getting up and walking out of the lecture. Okay. So, but
What's happening?
we all have these following gifts. We all have these gifts, every one of us, living everywhere. We all have love. I hope we all know love. We can all, by our mind's eye, we can give these gifts to the people that you see on your TV, on your news, the people who are immigrants, who have no running water, who have a bucket that's supposed to, 12 people are supposed to use for an entire day, 1 bucket of water. When you see those people, you are going to send them love. You are going to send them compassion. You are going to send them strength, not fear, strength instead of fear. You are going to send that to them. If you have money, you're going to send the money. A lot of people are sending money. If you happen to have money, you will send it to help these people. But if you don't, everyone has these things that they can send. We can send compassion. Compassion is a major thing that we can send. Have compassion. Compassion for everyone that you see. Have gratitude. We all can have gratitude for something. I told the story last week about the person who has the sore tooth. It's really sore. He thinks about it all the time, can't think about anything else, can't sleep. And then someone pulls the tooth and he's so grateful that he doesn't have the toothache. He's so grateful, but we're never thankful for all the teeth we have in our mouths, or we don't have, but the ones that are left, that they don't hurt us all the time. So think of what we're grateful for that we are used to, that we think of as part of our lives. Think of what we're grateful for, and it will help you. When you send compassion, when you think of what you're grateful for, you thank people. When you're praying, you always thank people first, but not people, but our higher power. But anyway, you always thank them. So think of what you're grateful for, and that will give you more serotonin and extend it to others. Think of what happened to all the 10 million people in our country who filed for unemployment this week. 10 million people. I can't even picture that. But I can't picture the 30 million people that joined our army last week. 30 million. But 10 million Americans had to go through that process of filing for unemployment. You probably heard on the news, someone called unemployment 300 times and still could not get through. Can you imagine yourself doing that? Calling unemployment 300 times and knowing if you didn't get them, you wouldn't have any money to buy food? So we're thinking of others who are in trouble now. Okay. What else is your armor? Your armor is, think of yourself in armor. I saw a picture of old-fashioned real armor last week. Think of yourself in an armor outfit. And what are your other ways that you can fight back? Knowledge, truth, compassion, love. I should tell you that there are a certain number of psychiatrists and psychiatric workers with us today. So this is what I want to be able to share with you. That there are certain numbers who are with us today, and they are Mary Beth Fox in Palo Alto, an adolescent psychiatrist who's also a pediatrician. Stanford, she went to Stanford. There is Dennis St. Peter. Can you imagine having the last name St. Peter? No, I'm going to do this. I have to do this. He is in Santa Cruz, California. He went to Princeton and Stanford. Paul Roberts, he's my good friend, he listened all last week. Paul Roberts, he became an infectious disease doctor. Then he did another residency and became a psychiatrist. He's in the state of Washington, watching this with us. So I want you to feel their strength. I want you to feel their ability to help squelch your anxiety. I want you to feel that they can, oh, I have to mention Sid Pittman, my high school classmate. He's a psychologist, and he studied human behavior for all these years. Sid Pittman, he's in Palm Springs. So I have to mention these people because I want you to feel like you can ask them in your mind's eye. You can ask them for help, and they will give it to you because they're generous. They're generous of spirit. I know them all. I know they will help you. Okay, time for meditation. I also have to say one thing about next week before I do the meditation. Next week, we're going to talk about some of the gifts people have that they're sharing with people. So I want you to say where you were born, your name. You could just say your first name, what your gifts are, and the children that you're trying to make a world better for. I'm going to armor. This last week I thought of girding up your loins, and here's the information in the Bible. If you don't want to hear it from the Bible, you don't have to stay here. But I just need to tell you, for the Christians, this is my Aunt Jeanette. She's in there right now. She's right in front of me. She has a Concordia. Concordia, is that what it calls? Concordia, concordance? Concordance. It tells you where to look, where everything in the Bible is found. So she found this for me. It's Ephesians, E-P-H-E-S-I-A-N-S. It's found in Ephesians. It's in the New Testament, so you know to look in the back of the Bible, not the front of the Bible. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 to 10. It talks about girding up your loins. So when you read that and you think how you're in an army of 30,000 people, next week I'll tell you it's going to be more. 30,000 people, we're all girding up our loins to fight this virus. For Christians, and I bet you for most religions, except the ones where they use their Allah or God to fight people and kill people, I don't understand that. I never have understood how religion can be used in fighting. But anyway, most of us are taken care of by loving gods who want to help us, gods who are with us all the time. I know that God is with me all the time. I just know God is with me. I know he's helped me deliver every single one of those hundreds of babies, and he's helped me. It doesn't mean that, and I'm saying he, oh, that's politically incorrect. It could be a he, she, or an it. So I'm just going to use the word he for now because it's easier. but he is with you, and Christians need to know. Go on. Christians need to know this. This week, I kept thinking all week about walking in the light, walking in the light, walking in the light. And I'm going to take the time to give you Isaiah. Isaiah, that's in the Old Testament. Look in the first part. Izaiah. I didn't know how to spell that. Nobody knows how to spell Isaiah at the beginning, except Jeanette did. Isaiah chapter 2, verse 5, and the verses that are around that. That talks about walking in the light. And this one my mother thought we should know. Try to be content with what you have. It's hard to say be content when all this chaos is going around you. But this chaos is not going around in your house. It's not going around in your family, and it's not going around in your brain. It is not chaos because you know, you have knowledge about this virus and you know how to fight it. And you're walking in the light. For those of you Christians, this is your chance to really recognize all of this. We've heard about this for so many years. Some people don't really think of it every day. They don't do things like I do where people's lives are in my hands and I could be doing something where they could die. I've never luckily, thank God, I've never luckily done something where people died under my watch. But anyway, that was the other thing, contentment. Did I say where that came from? Contentment.
That's thinking.
Philippians. I don't think it
Philippians.
is. Philippians. That's a hard one. Philippians.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Chapter 4, verse 1. These are for you who read the Bible. Philippians chapter 4. You have a Bible and you don't read it. Pick it up. How to get strength. You'll get strength from reading this. Okay. So at the end, I'm going to leave with the meditation so I can leave you relaxed. I have had a lot of people, including my sister, Kathy Ullman. She said it would be better if you could do the talking first and leave us all relaxed with the meditation. Some people have never meditated before. I had somebody last week. She's a friend of my daughter's. What's her name? Meredith. She's never been able to relax enough to meditate. But she did last week. She meditated for the first time. So even though those people who don't believe in any of this, you might want to just try it. Last week, on Sunday, there was a person named Deepak Chopra. All of you who meditate will know who this is. D-E-E-P-A-K. Deepak Chopra. C-H-O-P-R-A. He's an Indian man. He's all over the world. He has 2.5 million followers. 2.5 million followers. So he was going to do a worldwide meditation last week. And you had to register like I did last week, just your name and where you live. So then you were introduced to his waiting room. So I was sitting in his waiting room, just like you were today. All of you who were waiting for this to start, and I was so late. And those of you who didn't know me were so surprised, and those of you who know me were thinking, oh, she's late again. Deepak Chopra was going to do this worldwide meditation with 2.5 million people, and they set this up on Vimeo. That's the other way to do the video meditation, live meditations, live videos. So they had this all set up, and he has a lot of technical help. He has way more than Jillian, and way more than Jillian plus Brandon. Well, nothing happened. Blank screen. Just like you all, thank you so much for staying. Blank screen, blank screen. I knew it was Deepak Chopra, and I was going to wait as long as it took. So suddenly he comes on the screen. What happened? He tells us what happened. The video site crashed before he could even start doing his meditation. Deepak Chopra, 2.5 million followers, has much technical advice you could ever want to have, in his site crashed. So look up him on what's the place where all the videos are? I'm dropping. Well, anyway, you know how to look up the place where all the videos are, and he's there.
YouTube.
YouTube.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yes, thank you, Barbara, Jeanette,
everyone else knows it. And sometimes I've had this stroke. I have to say, I've had this stroke about 3 years ago, and I woke up and I couldn't talk. I had this invasive cancer with positive lymph nodes 2 years ago. And I woke up, and I'm not going to describe the details, but I had an infection. It was caused by a bacteria called Pseudomonas, which is green bacteria. I went to Stanford to be treated for the cancer. And those of you who are my close family, you know, full of green pus everywhere was the answer. And I spent 6 months not being able to walk and talk and do things around the house. My husband had to do everything. My family had to do everything. I'm just telling you that. And then the last thing was I had back surgery and I woke up not able to walk. Brandon has helped me learn how to walk this past year. So I'm just telling you those things because you never give up. That is my motto, never give up. My other motto from Socrates, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I am doing it. Socrates said, live as in dying you would like to have lived. So this is really important. You never know how long you're going to be here. You might be in your 90s, like Jeanette and my mother. They're not afraid to die. They're in their 90s. They also have patients. But you never know how long you're going to be here. And so you live as in dying. If you're going to die tomorrow or this afternoon, live like you would like to have lived. Make your life mean something. Make it something that helped other people, not just yourself. If you think just about yourself, you're going to get a lot of adrenaline and you're not going to get serotonin if you think just about yourself. Okay, so I'm going to leave at the end of this. I also should say, a lot of people have asked me about this health coaching. That's where I call people and talk to them one-on-one. And I've not been able to think of my niche, even though I've been doing this for a year. But my niche is I help people get more adrenaline and less serotonin. That's my niche. More serotonin, less adrenaline. So if you're interested in that and you're somebody who really needs help or could use help, or someone who's had cancer, or someone who has had a stroke, or someone who can't walk, someone who needs help, I can help you. And you can email me and tell me that you're interested in coaching and what you need help for. It's one-on-one telephone calls. It's all done, even not in COVID times, it's done by phone. And the purpose is to empower you so that you feel like you're looking forward to the day, not waking up sad every day and feeling like you're drowning. That's what the water is on my professional website. That's what that water is. That's you drowning. And the sunrise is you waking up and having more adrenaline and looking forward to the day no matter what. Okay, so are you ready for the meditation? Everyone leave that doesn't want to and is tired of being here. Are you ready? You can leave. I don't see anybody leaving. If you're leaving, I can't see you anyway, but I assume some people will. All right, so now we're going to do our meditation. And the first thing we're going to do is close our eyes, go into a quiet place. Most of you are already there. Hopefully that you won't be interrupted for about 20 minutes. We're not going to do a whole 20 minutes this time, like I did last week, but you'll do it on your own afterwards. We're going to try to do this exercise. I'm calling it meditation, but it's really a lot more than that. Twice a day for 20 or 30 minutes. Twice a day, 20 or 30 minutes. The more you do it, the more quickly you can become deep in your meditation. You'll be able to see colors. You'll be able to feel your body relax. You'll be able to feel as thoughts come through as you're meditating, you let them go through. You don't stop and think about each thing. That's going to make you not able to really be in a deep meditative state. So you do that 20 minutes twice a day. And so now you're in a quiet place, you close your eyes, you deep breathe. Now I'm going to tell you what's going to happen before we actually do it. I'm going to guide you through guided imagery. And it's going to go from your toes to your head. And this is going to help your body relax. So the first thing is help your body relax by guided imagery. Then the second thing we're going to do is meditate. In transcendental meditation, I was given a Sanskrit word, S-A-N-S-K-R-I-T, Sanskrit word that was suitable for me, that I've never told anybody, and I've done this since I was 25, and I've never told anyone. But you're not going to have a Sanskrit word. You're going to use the word love instead. You're going to meditate on, they call it meditating on. You're going to meditate on love. And you're going to do that. We're only going to do that for about 2 minutes because I did it for 6 minutes last week and some people complained afterwards. But the people that I had on my screen, they all kept their eyes shut and were there for 6 minutes. But I'm going to do it for 2 minutes. And afterwards you can do it longer. Then the last thing we're going to do is ask for help. So we've relaxed our bodies, we've relaxed our minds. Now we're going to ask for help. And whoever is your higher power, for we Christians, for us Christians, it's God, it's Jesus, it's the Holy Spirit, it's all three. We ask for help. And we ask for help so that we can fight this virus, so that we can make a better world. And we do that, and we say a prayer. So first thing, we thank someone for something. We thank God for the things, for the gifts that we have, for things that we're given, for things that are helping us. Then we ask for help. And then I'll stop. And then I'll see you next week. I'm going to do this every week on Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Each week will get a little easier. We can do the Zoom and video, Facebook video at the same time. I'm going to really try to do both. And next week we're going to focus on what I've already talked to you about. Okay, let's start. That's my mom calling. She's probably going to say, hurry up. She said that my whole life, hurry up. I don't have the hurry up speed, she does. Okay, so close your eyes and take a deep breath. 3 deep breaths. Longer in and slower out. Longer in. Slower out. Now I'm going to start the imagery. In your mind's eye, I want you to use your mind's eye. Think of your feet. Think of your toes first. Think of your toes relaxing. Think of your feet relaxing. Think of your ankles relaxing. I'm going to do this fairly quickly, so it may not be the best, but I'm teaching you to do this yourself. Think of your calves, your lower legs. Think of them relaxing. Think of all the cramps you get in those, but now they're completely relaxed, no cramps. Now think of your knees, all those sore knees. They're relaxed now. You don't have the pain. Now think of your thighs, your thigh muscles, relaxing. Now think of your hips. Your hips have no pain now because they're relaxed. You're not moving. You have to be moving to have the pain. Your hips are relaxed. Now think of your abdomen, the front of yourself, your belly. There's a lot of organs, there are a lot of organs inside and things that you have to relax. So I'm going to take a little more time for your abdomen. Now I'd like you to think about your rear end and your back. Your whole back side, up to your neck. Little by little, they'll relax. Your rear end, your lumbar area, your shoulders. Relax your shoulders. Now think of your neck relaxing, your neck. Think of that stiff neck you've had all week, Brandon. Now it's relaxed. You're moving it back and forth. It's relaxed. Now think of your face. Think of all the things on your face that are moving all the time. Goodness gracious. Think of your mouth. I can't do it, but you think of your mouth relaxing. Your jaw relaxed. Your nose you don't usually move, but think of not having, just think of relaxing your nose too. Now your eyes. Everybody can relax their eyes. Everybody. We're all equal in this. All equal warriors in our army. We can all relax our eyes. And the last thing is your scalp. Your hair.
All of us have a scalp, most of us have hair. Relax those things. So now our body is relaxed. We're in a quiet place. We're in a place that's beautiful. We're in a place that we've designated, that we've been to before. We use our mind's eye to picture that place, and we use our mind's eye to relax our bodies. The next thing we're going to do is relax our minds. This is all our armor. We're putting on our armor. Relax our minds. So, quietly, you're going to start thinking slowly of the word love. Kind of like this. Love. 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 Something else comes in. We start to think about something else. We're going back to meditating on the word love. We're going to do this
Meditation of the day for calm and able.
for
You
2
want to
minutes.
open it?
I'm going to do 3 minutes. Meditate on the word love. All of you. Think of 30,000 people.
Meditation of the day for calm and able.
We did this last week too. People, my friend Janet Barker Peterson, she can feel the power. She is here meditating with you. I won't describe her because it will make you distracted from what you're meditating on. So the more often you do this, morning and evening, the easier it will get to go deep in this meditation. You'll see if you do it. The next thing, the last thing we're going to do today is ask God for help. All of us, whoever you pray to, your higher power. If you don't have a higher power, then ask the universe for help. Ask the universe.